Judica County is brought to you by Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law, your law firm for life.
Welcome back into Judica County Radio. Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, managing partners, Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm, are your hosts. Again, Whitaker and Hamer, your law firm for life. Offices located conveniently for you in Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay Varina, Gastonia, and in Morehead City. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. If you've got any legal situation that you're facing, you got some questions you need answers to, you can always call Whitaker and Hamer, 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact information, briefly what the call's about, and an attorney with Whitaker and Hamer will be in touch. And you can email your questions to the show. That's info@judicacounty.com. That's info@judicacounty.com. And we'll answer those questions on a future broadcast. But we are diving in on family law, and here we go. Josh, take it away.
Yeah, so we get a ton, before I get there, Joseph, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, do it. I love that.
It's Christmas time.
All right.
It's Christmas time.
Yeah, it is.
I got two questions for you. One question, favorite all-time Christmas special?
Christmas
like movie?
special?
You mean like a movie?
TV movie.
Like a movie?
Cartoon.
You talking about like a movie or like a specifically a special? Like that was like a one-off for Christmas? Because I can tell you my favorite Christmas movie all day, every day. That's very easy. And I don't have a favorite anything.
That's right, you don't.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's Home Alone, man. Come on.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
that's the quintessential.
You just said you didn't have a favorite anything, and you just picked a favorite.
That's the one thing.
Legalese.
Yeah, there's the right answer.
What about just general cartoon special?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't have one of those.
You don't have
really.
All right, Josh, you obviously have one. What do you got?
I'm a Christmas Vacation guy.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm from that. Yeah.
I put that on last night.
You know what's...
That is good, man.
It is good.
It's good.
Yeah, it's the classics,
it's
man.
good.
It gives you the...
Yeah, it's good.
But you don't have like a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or the
I don't know,
claymation
man.
or the Peanuts.
Yeah,
or...
not like a preference. I mean, I like the Rankin and Bass stuff. I'm fine with it. It's all to me, man. It's all just it's just like evoking that feeling, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody's favorite Christmas movie isn't necessarily like the best movie. It's just whatever is the most nostalgic that pulls on those heartstrings, man.
I'm going to tell you something.
Gives you that feeling.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something that might not surprise you. I've never watched Home Alone all the way through.
Really?
I've seen many parts of it.
That's hilarious.
I'm sure I've seen it all at some point in different. I know what happens.
The kids love when they're getting destroyed at the end. They love that.
Yeah.
They love it, man.
You know what movie was not good? Did you watch? Christmas Story. That movie.
Yeah.
Did you watch when they came out with Christmas Story 2?
No, I didn't, because I'm not a big Christmas Story 1 guy, man. Like, I'm not even one that... I don't even think I've seen that.
Christmas Story 1's a classic. 2, no.
Yeah, it's all right. I can understand why it is, but, like, it wasn't for me, man. Yeah, like I said, it's all about, like, what resonates with you, and it's usually something you saw as a kid.
Well, you don't want to see Christmas Story 2.
I won't. Don't worry. You're in no danger of that. Like, that's like you watching any other movie.
Yeah.
I ain't watching Christmas Story.
It's very
2.
sad. I had hopes for it, but they kill off everybody. It's not.
Oh, people are just dying in the movie?
Well, the dad's
Now I
the
might
dad's
watch it.
The dad's dead.
Well, obviously.
Right. And it's not. I wouldn't recommend it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
You've
sold me on not watching it.
Not watching the movie you weren't going to watch.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right.
Jingle All the Way is a good one. That's an Arnold Schwarzenegger classic.
Yeah, I've never seen. It's always on.
I ain't seen it. Arnold. It's got Sinbad.
Sinbad's good.
It's got Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman's classic.
Yeah, you honestly, man, it's not a great movie. It's got The Big Show.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
Phil Hartman's good.
He's really good in it, man. He's like the smarmy neighbor that's like hitting on Arnold's wife subtly. It's good, man. It's good.
So we get a lot of listener questions, a lot of our family law. In our first segment today, we're going to take a question on. We had a lot of questions on child custody in general, right? How does that work? Child custody, you've got a separation, maybe you've gotten further along and you're in the divorce conversation, but usually you're separating from your spouse and you all have kids, and custody is obviously a big deal. That's usually what people. I mean, you're worried about paying the bills. You're worried about what your new life's going to be like, and how there's a lot of things to think about. But everybody's usually thinking about their children, and child custody is on the forefront of your mind. And so we went to our in-house family law attorney. We sat down with Taylor Scruggs-Smith, and she couldn't be with us today on the podcast, but I wanted to get her answer to our first question. And what I do, I boil down a lot of different listener questions that were basically intro questions on how does child custody in North Carolina work? And so that's what me and Taylor talked about. And so we've got this answer for you.
All right, Taylor. I have questions for you. Do you have answers for me?
I hope so.
All right. Taylor at our law firm. Taylor is our family law attorney.
Wait, we don't have to
Taylor,
listen to it, do we?
the first question I have for you today, me and Joe have been doing listener questions on the show. Our listener question today is a very simple one. We boiled it down to the basics. How does child custody work? So that's our question, our broad framework. But to get us started, in North Carolina, how does child custody work?
All right, so the big thing when it comes to child custody is the standard that the court pays attention to, that the judges rule by, and that's best interest of the child. The reason that's so important is because, especially if you're going through a divorce, obviously there's emotions high because of the marriage and the relationship ending, but the judge doesn't really care why your marriage came to an end unless you can directly correlate that to how it affects the child. So everything is in the framework of what's in the best interest of the child. How does this affect the child? Is this a positive impact or a negative impact? It's all in about how the child would fare based off of the circumstances. So when you're filing in court, that's always how you have to phrase the issues. North Carolina does make you go to mediation first for child custody. That is a court-ordered mediation. Attorneys are not allowed to be in the room. Sometimes you can end up with a temporary hearing before you go to mediation, but you're required to go to mediation.
Is there, when we're on the show, I think I tell people, what practice areas I'm familiar with and what I'm not familiar with. Child custody is not one I spend a lot of time in personally at my time at the firm. Is there like a default, like it's 50-50 between the parents in a normal situation where you've got two responsible parents? Is that like a normal thing, or is there a normal?
So there's not necessarily a normal, but we do see the judges and courts try to lean towards 50-50 custody. But 50-50 custody can look like several different things. So for instance, 50-50 could be that you're on what we call a 2-2-3 schedule, which means the kid's going back and forth every 2 or 3 days and you're alternating weekends. It could be a week on, week off schedule. And some of that's determinative. Has the child, how close the school is, things like that.
Okay. And parents can always agree, or I guess this is a question. I was about to make a statement. Can parents agree to a child custody schedule without going before a judge if they're able to?
Yes, you can agree in two different ways. One way is you can include it in your overall separation agreement. Like when you're negotiating property, you can have child custody in that same agreement. Or you can just do what's called a parenting agreement that says this is how we're going to handle the child. This is how we're going to do exchanges. This is how we're going to do holidays. So you can do it in an agreement just between yourselves. The court retains jurisdiction, so if a problem comes up, you can always go back to the court.
Right. The okay. You always see on TV. You have a spouse threatening to leave, and they're like, "Hey, you'll never see your kids again." That kind of thing. How often do you see a parent who wants custody, some type of custody, not get it? If that makes sense.
It does make sense. And essentially what you're asking is kind of how often do we see somebody just not granted visitation rights at all? Mm-hmm. And I'll say that I see is pretty rare. Even in extreme situations, a judge will try to grant supervised visitation leading up to more visitation if certain criteria is met. But there's usually not an automatic you just can't see your kid again unless there's like an extreme case of abuse, sexual misconduct, things like that.
Sure. Okay, well, I think that's a good job. I think that answers our question. How does child custody work in North Carolina? So Taylor, I appreciate it.
So child custody is, again, Taylor did us that favor there and gave us some general information on on child custody, and it's it can be extremely complicated, or it can be pretty simple. It's just like anything else. You can strike an arrangement between the two parents that works for everybody, and a court will give that its blessing, and then you got a court order, or it can be something that's litigated, and you can really get the court and social services involved. So it can be as easy as hard as you want to make it. But that was a good child custody in a nutshell.
All right, Judica County Radio, we are going to take a short break. Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer are your hosts of this program. They're the managing partners at Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm. They're practicing attorneys here in North Carolina. They have offices conveniently located for you in Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay-Varina, Gastonia, and in Morehead City. If you have a legal situation you're facing and you need questions answered, you can always call the firm, 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact information, briefly what that call's about, and an attorney with Whitaker and Hamer will be in touch. And you can always email your questions to the show. We'll answer them on a future broadcast. That's info@judicacounty.com. info@judicacounty.com. We've got more Judica County coming up on the other side with more family law question and answer.